Okay, well, we're going to try to get this started. I'm in a study room on NC State's campus, and there's some noise pollution behind me, so we will see if this will work out. So bear with me as I try to fix this and see how everything goes. But just wanted to have a live stream to talk to everyone because it's a lot easier than making a big, long Facebook post with lots of words that no one really reads, and having a one-on-one conversation is a lot easier. And it's just easier to run through the storm and go through and see what's going to happen. So I want to start off saying I'm Andrew. I'm the face behind Andrew's Weather Center. And some of you may be surprised. I'm 19 years old. I am not a professional, even though some of you have said that I act like one. I appreciate that, but I am an amateur. I am no professional at all. I'm a student at NC State. I'm a sophomore, and I'm learning the ropes around meteorology, and it's always been a passion of mine. So I'm an amateur. Take what I say with a grain of salt. Refer to National Weather Service for the correct information at all times. And I want to bring up a point right here. There was a page the other day that posted about meteorologist, MEDIA instead of meteorologist, and that's this whole Facebook page kind of storm has grown into a big mess, and a lot of teenage or young adult age people are making these Facebook pages and sharing weather maps and sharing, data that's not even really legal to be used, especially like if the Euro model, that's not supposed to be publicized, unless you pay for it. So just be careful which pages you do follow. I'm using my page as a channel to further information instead of, I don't really put out forecast maps, or I don't make huge, heavy predictions, because to me, it's more about the general idea of the weather. And, if you also notice, I don't forecast exact highs for a day. I forecast a range of highs. And like with this storm, when I run down in a few minutes, I'm not going to predict, exact snow totals for this town or this city. It's more about the general idea and being safe during the storm and furthering the information to you. So my page is a channel on Facebook. But with all that being said, let's get to the real story, which is this winter storm. You would not guess within 24 hours that we would be dealing with a winter storm, but we will be. We will be dealing with all kinds of winter precipitation, and that's what's making this forecast so hard. You'll have to realize that it's sunny and in the lower 40s right now, and then by tonight the storm's coming in. So it's really tough in North Carolina to forecast winter weather because there's so many different variables that can change, and that's a real problem with this storm, because originally models were showing an ice storm, then they showed a giant snowstorm, now they're showing an ice storm again. Particularly for central North Carolina. For the triad, you might see some more snow, but we'll go into that in a few seconds. So going back to the thing I was talking about with giving ranges, compare it to a thunderstorm. If we're in the summer and I say, there's a severe thunderstorm, it's heading toward this city in 30 minutes. You're not going to ask me how many inches of rain am I going to get? How many lightning bolts will I see? Will lightning hit my backyard? You're just worried about the danger of the thunderstorm. You want to take shelter from it. So that's kind of how I'm perceiving this winter storm event. A lot of people approach it as, how much will this city get? And they view it as a challenge to, forecast this. Just understand that this is a dangerous event. Yes, the snow is pretty. Yes, it can be really fun if it's just snow, but when there's ice involved, it becomes very dangerous for travel, for, even walking on icy surfaces. You can really harm yourself if you're not careful. So this storm is going to be dangerous. It's going to be a multi-day event. It's going to be a mess, and you need to be prepared for it. So a lot of long-range models, they're called long-range for a reason. So you hear like the GFS and the Euro and those maps being posted everywhere. Well, we're kind of in that range to where those models are still, accurate to a degree, but we're in the range now to where we kind of don't really rely on one model or the other. We're just kind of nowcasting is what it's called, and we're going forward, and we're seeing, okay, it's crunch time, it's 0 hour, how are we going to handle this? So let's get into it. The timing of the system is going to really start around midnight tonight. So there's a winter storm warning in place now from midnight tonight, so 12 a.m. tonight, all the way until 6 p.m. on Saturday. So this is a long event. This is a whole day. The entire day tomorrow across the entire state of North Carolina is going to be a winter mess. I mean, it's going to be a long event, longer than a typical system, And because of that duration, there's going to be some pretty high snow totals in some places. There's going to be some really, really incredible ice accumulations in some places. So I broke in North Carolina into 5 sections. So we're going to talk about the triad, which includes Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point, Forsyth County, Guilford County, Stokes County, Surrey County, Reedsville, areas like that. That's the triad. So when I refer to the triad, PTI Airport, that surrounding area. Then we go to the triangle, which is RDU, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Smithfield, even Sanford in this case can kind of be included in that mix. And then that's the triangle. And then east of Interstate 95, we're talking about Greenville, Kinston, Clinton, Rocky Mount, Goldsboro. Those are areas east of I-95. And then I bunched together Charlotte and the Sandhills. And when I talk about Sandhills, I'm talking about Pinehurst, Fayetteville, Albemarle, and I'm including Charlotte in this case because according to the model trends, it looks like that area is going to kind of be lumped into one type of precipitation. So, and then the final area is the foothills of North Carolina, which is really west of Interstate I-77, which is Hendersonville, Hickory, Morganton, Asheville. So with those 5 sections, we're now going to move into the timing of the system. And it's, like I said, it's sunny outside. You would never guess that there's a winter storm. This is your time to prepare because midnight tonight, things are going to deteriorate very quickly. And soil temperatures are very cold. The ground's frozen. So anything that falls is going to stick. And, as soon as you start seeing things falling from the sky, if you see snow, you need to get to a safe place reasonably soon because if snow accumulates for an hour on a cold road, it's going to become very hazardous to travel. So precipitation will start in the triad, which is Greensboro area. Precipitation will start there around midnight tonight to 4 a.m. That's when the onset of this precipitation is going to start. And it's probably going to start as some light snow. There might be a little sleet mixed in, but I think for the triad, you're going to stay primarily, it's going to start off as snow, some flurries, maybe pick up to light snow, kind of like what we saw last night with that little period of snow showers. It'll be like that, but there'll be a lot more to come after that. So I think your onset in the triad will be snow showers. In the triangle, you can expect the precipitation to start between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So mostly all of us will be asleep, but outside, snow will start to be falling. And in the triangle, I think it'll be more of a snow-sleet wintering mix. We're right on that line in the Raleigh area where, everyone will start out as snow or sleet, but as the night goes on, more ice, I think, will happen around the triangle area. And then east of I-95, I think you'll start as a wintry mix after sunrise. So we're progressing westward, eastward across the state. And I think you'll start as a wintry mix. You'll probably see some snowflakes, some sleet, kind of like, what in the world is coming out of the sky sort of thing, because there's all kinds of things coming down. But I think you'll start as a wintry mix after sunrise. And for Charlotte and the Sandhills, I think you'll start as snow showers. I kind of skipped over y'all here, wintry mix. And then in the foothills, west of Interstate 77, you'll see all snow. I mean, it's going to be, the onset of the system will be snow and sleet. The ground temperatures will be cold. It'll be, you'll realize that it's snow and sleet. No surprise there. But then as the night goes on, the low is going to strengthen and it's going to come up the coast. So we're going to have south and southeasterly flow off of the Atlantic coast. So what that means is it's bringing in moisture for the storm, which is good if you want snow, but it's also bringing in warmer air because it's coming off of the beaches, off of the coast. So here's your cold air up here, and you're going to have warm air underneath here that's going to be infiltrating underneath. So the surface is going to be warming while there's cold air aloft. Excuse me, I said that backwards. Cold air at the bottom while there's warm air aloft. And what that does is when the frozen precipitation is falling, that's going to, it usually falls as snow, but when you have that melting layer in the middle, that's when you have sleet falling. It's gonna melt and then it's gonna refreeze. So you're gonna have sleet and freezing rain. So in these wee hours of the morning, 12 a.m. to probably 8 a.m., you're gonna have all frozen precipitation. But around sunrise, around mid-morning, it's gonna start turning into more of freezing rain, more of sleet, especially in southeastern North Carolina, probably up to US 1, which cuts through Wake County and is kind of a diagonal through here. If you're southeast of this line, you're probably going to transition into a period of sleet, multiple hours of sleet and freezing rain. It's going to be quite a mess. And this is going to cause a lot of travel issues tomorrow morning all over the state. I'm no expert on predicting the school forecast or whatever, but I highly doubt that a lot of things will be open tomorrow because travel issues are going to be quite high impact on Friday morning because of all of this stuff falling, especially rush hour commute going into work. It's going to be a mess. So if you do have to drive, exercise extreme caution. Try to minimize all travel if you can. So we started off with our storm as snow and sleet, and now we're going into freezing rain. And this is just going to continue for hours. It's going to get old really quick. You're going to be sitting in like, when is it going to change back to snow? It may or may not, depending on where you are. I think in the triad, you're going to stay mostly snow. You're going to have a period of freezing rain. The rain snow lines are going to creep up on you. You're going to have a period of icing, sleet, freezing rain. That's going to kind of cut into your snow totals a little bit, but then that rain snow line is going to recede back down. So when we talk about totals, generally what we're going to do is with the main bulk of the storm, I think in the triad, we're going to see about 6 to 10 inches of snow. And that's I don't think it's too conservative at this point. I think that's a pretty good estimate, but if you stay snow this whole storm, if you stay frozen or above that rain snow line, these snow totals are going to be very high because it's going to be like a buzzsaw cutting across the state of North Carolina. If you stay snow the entire time, we're talking about 24 hours of winter precipitation. And so I think in the triad, you're going to stay mostly snow, but you're probably going to end up with about a tenth to a quarter inch of ice on top of that, maybe even locally higher inches of ice from freezing rain. Freezing rain is the stuff that makes your tree limbs sag, the power lines, bend down, and that's what you don't want. Snow is okay, but it still weighs down trees. But when you add ice to the mix, that's when things get dangerous. That's when your power outages start, when you usually get around a quarter inch of ice accrual on the trees. So that's the deal for the triad. I think you're going to see about 6 to 10 inches of snow, and then you're going to see icing on top of that. As we move down into the triangle area, which is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, I think snow totals will be a little bit lower because we're going to be right on that line again. And I have 1 to 3 inches of snow. This area is really up in the air for me, no pun intended, but it really just depends on where that rain snow line sets up. If that snow line is in the Smithfield area, Wake County could see 4 to 6 inches of snow if we're lucky, or if that rain snow line moves up into around Durham or something, which might be a little too far north, I think. But anything can happen with this storm. It's up in the air. There's only moderate confidence here. A lot of things can change. We're putting out our best guess here, but you have to just be alert. You have to be ready because so many things can change in this situation. So take all of this with a grain of salt. Like I said earlier, you may be in a position to where you think you're in snow for 8 hours and then you change to sleet for 6 hours, and your snow total has been cut in half because the sleet is heavier and weighs down your snow. It's just going to be a mess. That's the forecast for this storm. Should just be a wintry mess because that's what it's going to be. So to rehash a little bit in the triad, I think you're going to see 6 to 10 inches of snow plus ice on top. And then in the triangle area, probably 1 to 3 inches of snow and sleet, both snow and sleet, and then about a quarter inch of ice on top of that. And as we go down into the Charlotte and Sandhills area, which I said I'm kind of lumping that area together, basically south of US 64, the southern part of the south central North Carolina, you're once again in that kind of bad zone to where it's probably going to be a significant ice storm. You're right on that edge where you have snow, ice, and then rain. And unfortunately, it looks like that ice line between the snow and rain is really going to be right on top of you. So, we're looking at a potentially significant ice storm. I don't want to throw out big buzzwords like, crippling ice storm, but it could be. There's the potential that it could be very severe ice accumulation on trees and power lines, which could cause lots of power outages. And then if we move east of I-95 again, so the Greenville, North Carolina area, stuff like that. I don't think you're not going to be left out of this storm, but I really think you're just going to get very light snow and sleet accumulations, maybe a glaze of freezing rain, but it's mainly going to be rain for you guys. The onset of the storm will be a lot of frozen precipitation, snow, sleet, but I think around maybe lunchtime tomorrow, maybe early afternoon, you'll switch over to a very, very cold rain, and I don't really think you'll ever get back. The only time you might get snow is on Saturday, but we'll talk about that in a second. And then for the foothills, I'm pretty confident in saying that this is the area west of I-77, Asheville, Hickory, Morganton. I'm pretty confident that you will stay snow pretty much the entire storm with the occasional changeover to freezing rain. So I like to call it crunchy snow. You'll have snow with the ice layer on top and then maybe more snow on top of that. But I think you're primarily going to see snow, and this could be some very high snow totals, probably 8 to 10 inches of snow along those lines. So generally, the trend you can see here is that the farther east and south you go, the less snow you get and the more ice you get. And if you're in extreme southern North Carolina or eastern North Carolina, you're going to have just cold rain. But if you want more snow, you're going to be further north and further west. So that's how this situation is setting up. And like I said, so much can change. You can be right on the line. Last year, I was supposed to get 4 inches of snow here on NC State's campus, and I got 2 inches of sleet because the rain-snow line moved about 5 miles north of me. It was that close. So, these forecasts are so variable, they can change so easily. So just be prepared for the worst and, hope for the best in the situation. So then this will progress through the day on Friday, and then Friday night, the heaviest precipitation will probably be Friday morning, Friday day, and then Friday evening. And then as we go into Saturday, things will slowly start to taper off from west to east. It'll be a pretty slow tapering off. This is a huge system. It's going to be long duration. And then Saturday, this storm it sort of looks like a shrimp. That's what it looks like. It kind of looks like this. So when it's moving up the coast, up this way, you're going to get a band, we like to call it a deformation band of snow that sets up. And that's going to come back through on Saturday and give most of North Carolina a shot at like 1 or 2 inches of snow. Additional snowfall, and that'll be dry snow. This happened about 2 years ago, I think, in the Triad, where we had, I think it was around Valentine's Day of 2013, I want to say, 2013, 2014, but we had a period where we got about 6 or 7 inches of snow from the actual storm, and then the next morning, the deformation band came through when the storm was kind of, curling up and going out. That deformation band gave us an additional 2 inches of snow on top. So we had, hard snow on the bottom, and then we had a fresh powder on top. So that was kind of exciting. That's usually purely snow. That's not going to be ice. That's not going to be anything crazy. If that deformation band does dig far enough south to get into North Carolina, then we'll have additional snow on top of that. But that may be limited to areas north of US 64. We'll see how that plays out. We have to get through tomorrow and the nasty ice and everything before we can even deal with trying to worry if that deformation band is going to come set up in North Carolina to give us additional snow on Saturday. So that's kind of how that situation is playing out. And then about 6 p.m. Saturday is when the winter storm warning expires. So I think around 4 to 6 p.m. on Saturday, things will start to wind down. It'll clear out. And then Sunday, we have a beautiful day. We have highs in the upper 40s. That's going to melt immediately. So if you want to enjoy it, if you can enjoy it and get past the ice, if you're in the foothills and are with the snow and want to enjoy the snow, you'll have to enjoy it Saturday evening, Sunday morning, because this will probably be mostly melted by Sunday night, Monday, because highs in the lower 40s on Sunday, upper 40s and lower 50s on Monday. So it's going to be a very fast storm, very fast melting for a very long storm, usually how it works in North Carolina. So with that being said, we need to talk about how to prepare for the storm. Most of you have probably heard this 100 times, but it's important to know this. Make sure you tell family or loved ones. Some people, being on a college campus, I can talk to some people, and some people have no idea that within 24 hours it's going to be snowing or sleeting or there's going to be freezing rain outside. They have no idea. Make sure people are informed. Make sure people have a general idea that there's bad weather on the way. Make sure you have plenty of blankets or clothes inside. Charge your phones. Charge portable power sticks, the portable chargers. because there's a high likelihood of power outages with ice across the central part of the state. Minimize travel plans. If you have appointments, reschedule them. It's better to be safe than sorry. Don't try to get out, oh, I need to go to my doctor's appointment just down the road. If it's an emergency, be cautious. But if you have appointments or things like that, I don't care if it's a half mile away, that half a mile could really harm you if you're in your car and there is some kind of mishap or accident on hazardous road conditions. So minimize travel at all costs. It's not worth it. Take a day off, relax, and just watch the snow. Pets, bring your pets inside if you have outdoor pets. Don't leave pets outside in the snow. It's absurd. Check your car, make sure your car, don't use your car, but check your car to make sure it is ready and you have proper antifreeze levels and your gas tank's full in case of an emergency. Make sure it's ready, but don't take it anywhere. Try to avoid travel at all costs. And then have a little emergency kit just in case the power does go out, because we have that high likelihood of the power going out across a large portion of the state. Make sure you have a flashlight. I would not recommend using the flashlight on if you have an iPhone or an Android or something, because that kills your battery. So get an old-fashioned flashlight. We don't really use many old-fashioned flashlights anymore, but make sure you have a flashlight. Make sure you have a battery-powered radio. That's always helpful in case of an emergency or things like that. You still have a radio. Bottled water is huge. If you're on city water, you'll still have access to water, but if you're on well water like I was and when I grew up and we had massive snowstorms, you do not have water for days, and it's very bad. Make sure you have extra food and extra batteries for those battery-powered radios or battery-powered devices. Any medications you might need. Today is your day to prepare. You have about 11 hours until the storm starts. So, go home, prepare, make sure you have everything in order, and just make sure you're ready for a day and a half of winter weather. And avoid burning at all costs. I was reading this on a National Weather Service preparedness page, but wood burning, if it's controlled, that's fine, but try to avoid burning in your own house, because that can be very dangerous. If the power goes out and you need to stay warm, try to wrap up in a lot of blankets, but try to avoid burning at all costs, because a lot of house fires come from people burning in the winter during winter storms when the power is out or something. And if you're good at controlling fire, that's fantastic, but try to go with the safer option of just having a lot of warm blankets, warm clothes, and just stay warm and stay safe. And during the storm, stay indoors. Be careful if you're walking. We've all had the infamous falls on our back deck to where we're going to take a picture of the snow and we slip and fall. I heard a really funny saying, wrong shoes in the snow, down you'll go. Wrong shoes on the ice, make that twice. It's really silly, but it's true. Make sure you have proper footwear if you're going to walk outside, especially walking on a college campus. Trust me, I slipped and fell last year on ice. It does not feel good. It's very dangerous. It's very hazardous if you're walking. Take your time. Just be careful if you're outside, and stay dry. I'm speaking to college students again because of experience here, but we like to go play in the snow and then come inside and go back out and come inside and go back out, and stay dry, because it may only be in the upper 20s or something, but you can get very sick very quickly if you're soaked and cold, things like that. Dress in layers, dress properly, and stay dry. So that is pretty much all I have for this. This was a lot easier than typing out a long post on Facebook or something, because I know some of you don't read it. I don't reread it after I post it, so it's like a one-time thing for me. It's a lot of information. The bottom line here is to remember that this is going to be a long duration event. There's going to be snow, there's going to be ice, someone's going to be unhappy and get cold rain, but it's all going to happen, and it's going to happen within 24 hours. So be prepared for that. Be prepared for significant, impactful winter storm. Be prepared for power outages if you're anywhere between Interstate 77 and Interstate 95. If you're in that chunk of, that's what I like to designate Central North Carolina. If you are anywhere in that zone, if you live in Raleigh, if you live in Durham, Chapel Hill, Burlington, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point, especially Asheboro, especially Lexington, areas like that, and Pinehurst, Stanley County, Montgomery County, Moore County, Hope County, Fayetteville as well, Charlotte, Albemarle. If I just named your city, be prepared for possibly significant ice accumulation You may get lucky and keep your power on, but there's a high likelihood that you will lose power at some point in the storm, and it could be for an extended period of time depending on the severity of the situation. So we're looking at a significant winter storm, much bigger than the one last year. This is a high stakes event. There's going to be a lot of moisture involved. It's a huge system. It'll take a long time. So be prepared for that. And if you have any questions, I haven't seen any questions pop up on this live chat here, but if you have any questions, feel free to message me on Facebook, send me an email or whatever. I'd be happy to answer to the best of my ability. Like I said, I'm an amateur, but I can at least advise you or point you in the right direction if a question does come up. So just be aware of the situation. I'll be posting Facebook updates all day. This is the only live stream I plan on doing because it kind of takes a lot of preparation to get ready for it. And I may do something to recap. I'm not sure, but I'm not planning on doing another live event. So we have our first question. So when will the ice accumulation start? It's a great question, Chelsea. So I think the onset of this is going to be snow and sleet, and that'll probably last until probably in the, for the location dependent, in the triad, onset of precipitation will start as snow and sleet, and then probably around lunchtime, 12 noon on Friday, tomorrow, I think is when it'll start to kind of transition back and forth to freezing rain. So this is the main question of the event. We know there's going to be snow. We know there's going to be ice. The question is when. So that's pretty much your question that you asked, Chelsea, is the main question of this event, because that determines who gets slammed with ice, who gets a lot of snow, who gets the worst impacts from this. So I think the ice accumulation is going to start probably in the triad around 12 noon, probably in the triangle or maybe 10 a.m., 11 a.m. And I went back in time there because that line will be moving from the south and the east up to north and west during the day, and then it'll come back down later in the night. So I think ice accumulation is going to start, I think for the whole state, everyone will have seen some ice probably by noon or 1 p.m. You'll see that freezing rain start to mix into the wintry mix that's happening outside. So I would bet on probably 12 noon, 1 p.m. is probably the best bet for when you start seeing ice, freezing rain. It looks like rain, but it freezes on contact on the surface. So especially if you have a pack of snow or sleet on the bottom, and then you have freezing rain on top of that, that doesn't help the situation. That obviously just magnifies everything. So with that being said, if there are any other questions, I'll kind of ramble on for a few more minutes to see if there are any more questions for the 5 of you that are watching. Thank you for watching. This is my first debut live event. It's actually my first time, I think, showing my face through Andrews Weather Center. Not that I'm ashamed, I just don't think about it. But if you have any questions, just comment here. Just shoot me an email, andrewswxcenter@gmail.com. And then on my Facebook page, I'm on Twitter, I'm on pretty much everything, and I'll be on social media all day after my classes to ensure that everyone is feeling safe and good to go. So thank you, David. Great job, Andrew. Snow. I hope we get a lot of snow too. The ideal situation here would be more snow, less ice, but unfortunately it's looking like it's going to be, pretty nasty for some people, and there's going to be a lot of ice, which is not what you want during a winter storm. But with our cold air damming, which is when we have cold air wedged up against the Appalachian Mountains, that's what you get in North Carolina. You get these, blockbuster multi-precipitation events that cause a lot of issues. And, I heard from my family back in home in Forsyth County that schools were closed today because of just, a dusting of snow yesterday, but the ground was so cold that it froze on contact. So, it can be very dangerous, and conditions can deteriorate very quickly. So I think that's about it for me. I'm going to wrap it up. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, just message me on Facebook or comment on any post I make or anything like that. So thank you for watching. Stay safe and enjoy the snow.